We're sitting on $325 billion in cash. And no, Charlie isn't losing sleep, and neither am I. The financial press thinks we've lost it. They keep asking when we'll finally put the money to work. But here's what they don't understand. Sometimes the best investment is the one you don't make.
Warren's right. Anyone criticizing us for holding cash doesn't understand opportunity cost. We're not scared, we're patient. And patience properly applied is the most underrated skill in investing.
So should you be buying aggressively in today's market?
Or waiting for the pitch? You can actually hit. Write it in the comments. Which camp are you in?
Because that's the real question, isn't it? When is doing nothing actually the smartest move you can make? By the end of this conversation, you'll understand why patience isn't weakness, it's strategy. Let me tell you what happened with Apple. We just sold a large chunk of it. People were stunned. The headlines screamed, Buffett loses faith in Apple. Complete nonsense. People were stunned. The headlines screamed, Buffett loses faith in Apple. Complete nonsense. Apple is extraordinary. Tim Cook is brilliant. But even the best business becomes a bad investment at the wrong price. And that's what people miss. They confuse loving a company with justifying any valuation. You can own the best business in the world. Pay too much and you'll get terrible returns anyway. Here's the real story. We haven't found anything that makes sense to buy. Nothing that moves the needle for Berkshire. There have been times when I was drowning in opportunities. I could have deployed everything by nightfall. And then there are periods like now. Someone at the last shareholder meeting reminded me of something I said in 1999. If you owned all 500 S&P businesses, you'd be paying $10.5 trillion, making $334 billion in profits. I said, that's not a good return. Want to know the math today? The S&P 500 is around $44 trillion in market cap. Profits, $1.45 trillion. Same mediocre return, different decade. Now, I'm not saying it's 99 again, so the market must crash. I don't think that way. What I do is ask, does this make sense? And right now, the answer keeps coming back, no. So we sold Apple, not because we lost faith. We sold because the price got ahead of the value, and we couldn't find anything better to buy. My partner, Charlie, and I, we've worked together over 60 years. We've missed plenty. Google, Amazon, those hurt. But here's what we never did. We never lost sleep over missing something we didn't understand. Why should we predict every business? I can't tell you wheat yields in Kansas next year. So why pretend I can predict every tech company's future? And here's what I want you to think about. In your own portfolio right now, how much of what you own do you truly understand? Not surface level understanding. Deep, I can predict how this looks in 10 years understanding. The solution isn't spreading bets across 50 things you don't understand. The solution is narrowing down to 5 you do. And right now for Berkshire, finding 5 that make sense at reasonable prices is hard. That's not market timing. That's honesty. So when the press asks, when will you deploy that cash? When we find businesses at prices that make sense, not before. That might be next month, might be 3 years. We don't know. We don't have to know. What we do know, making 0% in Treasury bills is infinitely better than a permanent loss buying overpriced assets. That $325 billion, it's not rotting, it's optionality. When the next crash comes, and it will, we'll have ammunition. We'll be buying while everyone else is forced to sell. That's when fortunes are made, not in euphoria, in panic. But you can't take advantage of panic if you've already spent everything. So tell me, are you holding any cash right now, or are you fully invested? Is it because you found incredible value, or because you were afraid of missing out? One leads to wealth, the other leads to regret.
Let me be more direct than Warren usually is. The current market isn't just expensive. It's stupid, not difficult. Stupid. Companies with no advantages trading at 40 times earnings. SPACs, meme stocks. Crypto with zero intrinsic value. It's speculation wearing an investing costume. And I've seen this movie before. Different decades, same plot. In 1999, people thought we were idiots for not buying .com stocks. You don't get it, Charlie. This time is different. They were right about the internet. Dead wrong about valuations. In 2007, same story, real estate. You're missing out, Charlie. Everyone's making money. Yeah, until they weren't. Both times, the people who mocked us got destroyed. We survived. We thrived. Because here's what never changes. Human nature, greed, fear, the cycle. When money is cheap, thinking gets lazy. People stop asking what could go wrong. They only ask, how much could I make? That's not investing. That's gambling with better PR. Now, Warren mentioned we're not hoarding cash out of fear. Holding cash is an active decision. It's a conscious choice to say no to bad ideas. And saying no is just as important as saying yes, maybe more important, because one catastrophic investment wipes out decades of good ones. I've watched brilliant investors ruin themselves, not because they made one bad decision, because they couldn't stand doing nothing. They needed action, movement. The market was going up, and they felt left behind. So they deployed capital into mediocre opportunities at premium prices. And when reality reasserted itself, which it always does, they had no cushion. Warren and I have never worried about looking foolish short term. In 2008, people said we were too slow. By 2009, they realized we were buying at prices they couldn't imagine. Because we waited, we had cash. See, cash does two things people don't appreciate. First, it preserves optionality. Second, it provides psychological stability. When you're sitting on cash, you're not forced to sell in panic. You're not levered, not desperate. You can think clearly when everyone else is losing their minds. Now, people say Warren and I don't understand the modern economy, that we're too old, out of touch. Nonsense. We understand perfectly well. We understand remarkable businesses are being built. Technology has transformed industries. What we don't understand is why that justifies paying 60 times earnings for questionable advantages. Innovation doesn't excuse insanity. Some of the best businesses became terrible investments because people overpaid. Some mediocre businesses became excellent investments because buyers were patient. Price isn't everything, but it's close. Right now, prices assume perfection for the next decade. No recessions, no competition, no disruption. When have things ever worked out that way? Never. Not once. So when people criticize us for holding cash, I want to ask, why are you so eager to buy at these prices? Is it genuine conviction or fear of being left behind? From where I sit, it looks like fear. And fear is a terrible investment strategy. The hardest skill in investing isn't analysis. It's inactivity. Doing nothing when nothing makes sense. Sitting on your hands while everyone around you makes money. Watching the market go up while you hold cash. Enduring the criticism. The mockery. That takes more strength than most people have. But it's what separates investors who survive from those who don't. Warren and I aren't smarter than everyone else. We're just less willing to play games we don't understand at prices that don't make sense. We've seen how it ends. Every single time the same cycle. Easy money creates bubbles. Bubbles create euphoria. Euphoria creates recklessness. Recklessness creates disaster. We won't participate in collective insanity just because everyone else is. We'd rather be rational and look foolish temporarily than be foolish and face permanent losses. So here's my question for you. Have you ever felt pressure to invest because everyone around you was making money? Drop a comment if you felt that pressure. Because I think people need to know that pressure is normal, but giving into it is optional and usually catastrophic.
Charlie touched on something crucial, the pressure to act. And I want to expand on why that's dangerous. Your investment timeline is your own. Your goals are your own. What makes sense for someone else might be completely wrong for you. We're holding cash because we have specific criteria, durable competitive advantages, management we trust, prices with room for error. If we can't find all three, we don't invest. Simple, not easy. Now, let me tell you what this cash position really means. It's not just having it, it's being ready to use it. In 2008, when Lehman collapsed, our phone started ringing. Goldman Sachs, General Electric, household names scrambling to survive. They needed capital, fast. They were willing to pay premium terms. We could negotiate extraordinarily favorable deals, not because we're geniuses, because we had cash and they didn't. We invested $26 billion during the crisis. Those investments generated tens of billions in profits. But those deals only existed because we didn't spend our money in 2006 and 2007. While everyone else was fully invested in overpriced garbage, we were holding cash. Did it feel good watching the market go up without us? No. Did people question us? Absolutely. But when the moment came, we were ready. That's what $325 billion represents. Not fear, preparation. The world rewards those ready to act when it makes sense, not because they're restless, because the opportunity is actually there. Now people ask, Warren, you tell everyone to buy index funds, but valuations are high. Which is it? Both can be true. I recommend index funds because most people can't or won't do the work, and that's fine. But there's a big difference between dollar cost averaging over decades and dumping a lump sum into the S&P at 25 times earnings. The first averages out timing. The second is hope disguised as planning. Hope isn't a strategy. And if you're nearing retirement, hope can be catastrophic because the biggest risk isn't missing out. The biggest risk is wiping out. Missing an opportunity stings your ego. Losing capital ends the game. You can't recover from losing 50% if you only have 10 years left. So when Charlie and I look at today's market, we ask a different question. Not how much could we make, but how much could we lose? And when the downside is significant and the upside is priced in, we hold cash. Let me give you a framework I've used my entire career. 3 questions. 1, do I understand how this business makes money? Deep understanding. 2, will this business still be relevant in 10 years? Not might be, but will be. 3, is the price reasonable? Not cheap necessarily. Reasonable. If you can't answer yes to all 3, don't buy it. Hold cash instead. That framework eliminates 99% of opportunities immediately. That's not a bug, that's a feature. Because the goal isn't to invest in everything. The goal is to invest in the right things at the right price. Quality over quantity, always. So here's my question. Using those 3 filters, how many things in your portfolio right now would you buy again today? Be honest with yourself in the comments because that answer tells you everything about whether you're positioned right.
Warren mentioned mistakes. Let me be specific about types. There are 2 kinds, sins of omission and sins of commission. Sins of omission are what you didn't do. The Google you didn't buy. Amazon you passed on. Those hurt, but they're survivable. You didn't lose money. You just didn't make as much. Sins of commission are what you did do. The overpriced acquisition, the over-leveraged position, the business you didn't understand. Those can destroy you. You didn't just miss upside, you lost capital. Warren and I have always been more afraid of sins of commission. Here's why. If we miss Google, we're still around to buy something else. If we destroy capital on a bad acquisition, we might not get another chance. Your investment career is finite. You only get so many at-bats. So the question isn't how do I hit every pitch? The question is how do I stay in the game long enough for good pitches to come? Answer, avoid catastrophic mistakes. Most investors get it backwards. They spend energy finding the next big winner, the 10-bagger, the home run. They spend almost no energy making sure they don't strike out looking like a fool. That's backwards. If you avoid big losses, decent gains build wealth over time. Compound interest works, but only if you don't interrupt it with permanent losses. Warren and I never made a catastrophic mistake overpaying for something we didn't understand. Never used leverage to amplify bad judgment. Never bet the farm on a fad. We've been boring, careful, selective, and that's why we're still here. While investors who were more aggressive, more bold, most of them are gone. Not because they were dumb, because they couldn't resist swinging at bad pitches. Right now, with $325 billion, we could deploy it tomorrow. We could buy 50 businesses, 100. We could be active, busy, aggressive. But if even one turned out to be a disaster, we'd have committed a sin of commission, and the opportunity cost would be enormous. Not just the money we lost, but the money we couldn't deploy in the next crisis. So when people criticize us for holding cash, they're really saying you should risk a sin of commission to avoid a sin of omission. No thanks.
We'd rather miss 10 Googles than make one catastrophic acquisition, because missing Google means we're still around. A catastrophic mistake might mean we're not. Now the psychological side. Sins of omission feel worse short term. You watch something go up without you. You feel stupid. But sins of commission feel worse long term. You lose actual money. Your capital shrinks. You lose time. And if you're older, time is the one thing you can't recover.
So which pain can you handle? The pain of missing out or the pain of wiping out? Warren and I have always chosen the first because we're not investing to beat our neighbors. We're investing to win our own game. And in our game, staying in the game is rule number 1.
Let me bring this home with principles, because principles matter more than tactics. Whether you manage 325 billion or 35,000, the same rules apply. Rule 1, live below your means. If you can't do this, nothing else matters. Rule 2, avoid debt. Leverage amplifies everything. Good decisions and catastrophic ones. Rule 3, don't panic during downturns. The market transfers money from the impatient to the patient. And Rule 4, stop comparing yourself to your neighbor. Your goals aren't their goals. Now, those sound simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Those habits will matter more than whether you own 5 stocks or 15 asset classes. Get the habits right. You'll be fine. Get them wrong. Strategy won't matter. You don't get a second chance to be in your 50s or 60s. The decisions you make now matter more than the ones you made at 30. Because at 30, you had time to recover. At 60, you don't. So be honest with yourself. Honest about your knowledge. Honest about your temperament. Honest about your timeline. Whatever you choose, commit to it. Don't look back, because the real enemy isn't picking the wrong strategy. It's lacking the discipline to stick with any strategy long enough for it to work. Behavior beats strategy. Always has. Always will. Now, people ask, Warren, if you started over with a small amount, what would you do? Same thing, just smaller. Look for businesses I understand. Insist on reasonable prices. Hold cash when nothing makes sense. Ignore the noise. Those principles worked in the 1950s with $10,000. They work today with hundreds of billions. They'll work for you too, but you have to actually follow them, not just read them. Actually do them, and that's the hard part.
Warren and I have been doing this over 60 years together. We've seen every kind of market, every kind of panic, and every single time the cause of disaster is the same. People forget fundamentals when things get exciting. Don't forget them. Don't pay more than something is worth. Don't use leverage. Don't invest in things you don't understand. Don't be afraid to hold cash when nothing meets your standards. Those rules won't make you rich overnight, but they'll keep you in the game long enough to get rich eventually. And that's the only thing that matters.
The choice is yours. Chase returns at any price or maintain standards and wait for value. Just remember, you can't take advantage of the crash if you've already spent all your money before it happens. So when everyone else is swinging at every pitch, will you have the courage to wait for yours? Stay patient, stay selective, and when your moment comes, be ready.